Good evening everyone and welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel for yet another round of Season 18 PC Tier 1. Tonight the drivers are taking to the Circuit of the Americas, of course in Austin, Texas. It's going to be a thrilling ride here this evening. My name is Dan Field and as always I'm being joined by Nathan Richards. Nathan, you've got your webcam back on today.
Yeah, finally, the internet's not killing me for once. Good evening, everybody. It's great to be back, of course, and you can actually see my face this time, which is, well, I suppose brilliant, but for some of you, definitely not. I know Will Gibson will be making a comment about that. But yeah, we're heading to Texas today, which will be an absolutely brilliant race. I mean, in my opinion, I think Texas is one of the most underrated circuits on the Formula 1 calendar, both IRL and in the F1 game. So I'm rather excited to see what our drivers will be getting up to tonight. Absolutely,
it's going to be an enthralling Grand Prix this evening. Let's talk about last time out, though, in Belgium. Of course, it was a pretty exciting race, especially towards the end. There was a lot of contact between some drivers. Stewards weren't actually all that busy. I think the only stewards inquiry that we had was Philip Presnader getting a 20-second time penalty removed. So we'll see the results of that race. It was Barry Burman winning ahead of Brendan Lee. Brilliant race from Barry all throughout. It was never really in doubt that he was able to take the victory. And I believe he might actually be the first driver to win from pole this season. Brendan Lee finished in second position with Duncan Hoffland. Yet another strong podium from the Dutchman. Tamas Gallen fourth. Fifth was Nicolas Longe. Sixth, John Evans. Tom Manley was seventh. Eighth was Istvan Pukki. Philip Presnader, after his penalty was removed, finished ninth, and then Kian Golendorp in P10. And we'll see how that affects the standings. Still, it is Brendan Lee extending his advantage at the top of the table, 142 points ahead of Tom Manley. Jan Otmir in third at the minute. Of course, the Dutchman not racing here for the remainder of the season. Thomas Ronhart is fourth on 72. He could make a decent charge for second and lock out a 1-2 for R8G. We'll see if that happens in the next coming weeks. Ismail Fassi in fifth on 41. Istvan Pukki just 1 point clear of Otis Lawrence on 36. Otis on 35. With Nicolas Longe right behind them on 34. Barry Burman in ninth. And then Will Lewis rounds out the top 10 on 28 points. But Nathan, heading into this one today, it doesn't look like Brendan Lee could be caught at all.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, he's been miles clear of everyone so far this game. I mean, there has been a few drivers that have maybe chose to start at the back or maybe haven't been here for a couple of rounds, but you can't take that away from Brendan, how fantastic he's been on this F124 game over here in WOR, also over in PSGL, and I believe he's also done a couple of the Ironman races, if I remember correctly. So, you know, he's definitely in some fine form, certainly. But if you were wondering why we're not going into Q1, we're not taking part in Q1 because we've got 5 drivers who you can see in the chat there. Ronhar, Longe, Evans, Linton and Fassi are choosing to start at the back, so we just skip Q1 to make things a little bit easier and save us some time, Dan, because normally we're overtime. This time we can go in and be a little bit more prepared.
I'm glad, because Q1 is 18 minutes. It is a long session, and especially in these recent weeks, Nathan, where drivers have been eliminating themselves in Q1, we're commentating for 18 minutes to lose one driver, essentially. So it's good that we have 5 drivers, I think, retiring from this Q1 session. Those are Thomas Ronhart, Nicolas Longe, John Evans, Reese Linton and Ishmael Fassi. So those 5 are starting right at the back of the order. We should be heading into Q2 very, very soon. I'm very excited because, I mean, that 18 minutes, that's what we get to enjoy. I guess we get the excitement a lot sooner, Nathan.
Indeed, as we do head our way at a Q1, and I was a bit worried for a moment because Julian disconnected and he was the only driver not to retire, but luckily he got back in and he retired the car. But there we are. We end Q1, and unfortunately, Dan, to our demise and to the viewers' demise, we have, as normal, the 6 green cars back with us today.
God, yeah. I mean, we had it. We actually had it for a few weeks, but there was only a couple of them.
They stopped, yeah.
They stopped. Tamas Gal had his lovely Haas livery. He was matching Shanika Clay. But he's gone back. He's conformed to societal norms. It's not like Tamas Gal to do that. I'm very disappointed, truth be told, in Tamas. Which word? Conforming?
Let's have a word with him. No, have a word.
Oh, we're going to have a word with him. We are going to have a word with him. If he finishes on the podium today, I'm going to talk to him about it because I'm fuming. I'm going to talk to any of them that isn't named Thomas Ronhart and Brendan Lee, because those are the only 2 that actually race for Kick Sauber on this grid. But anyways, Q2 should be getting underway very, very shortly. I think we're actually in now, so why not just head over to the session, and you can see It is nice and clear, sunny blue skies at the minute. Hopefully everyone can see it on my screen. I do believe that it is. I had a little screen freeze as I loaded in, but it seems to all be okay. And everyone, Nathan, out onto circuit.
Yeah, everyone going out all together at the same time, trying to get out early to get their first laps underway. And I believe as well, because they retired from Q1, they'll also save a set of tyres, which means for the Q2 and Q3, when they go out, they can always use a brand new set of tyres. So they've saved a couple of sets from Q1, which is definitely good going through into these next couple of sessions, because it means if you make a mistake, you haven't got to go out on your old tyres. You can go out on a brand new set, as we do just see a few cars heading their way down to, I believe, turn number 11 or turn number 10. Will Lewis as well, back again, of course, 10th in the championship. Yeah. Danny, it's great to see him back, and, well, he's definitely in Q2. Let's see if we can get him into Q3.
I mean, we've lost some big heavy hitters already that you would expect to be fighting for Q3 appearances, like Nicholas Longuet and Thomas Ronhaar as well, Ishmael Fassi. Those are three drivers that normally you would see in Q3 out in Q1, of course, retiring and starting from the back, and that could pave the way for guys like Will Lewis, maybe Tycho Hardy, Kian Gonadorp, who had a fantastic qualifying last time out in Belgium, was on the front row of the grid. It could make way for Joris Krozen, these young up-and-coming stars, Nathan, who can really make an impact at the very top of the order of this qualifying session.
Yeah, they definitely can. I mean, yet again, I think I'm going to definitely be keeping an eye on Joris and Julian, because they're, two of the wonder kids, aren't they? Over in the R8G team, been doing a superb job so far over here in WOR as well as in PSGL. I believe in WOR Tier 2 they finished 1-2 in the championship, and in PSGL F2 they finished 1-2 in the championship. So at the moment, below esports, they are the best. And it's always great to see them back here in WRT. I want to show what they can really do. I mean, I think it was a couple rounds ago, I think it was Bahrain or something, where Julian went from, I think it was P16 in quali to finishing in the top 5 in the race, which just shows that these two have brilliant race pace. I mean, Joris has also got himself into the top 6, I think, on occasion this season. So, yeah, very excited to see what they can do. But it is always nice to see, the likes of Lenny Papinta, Tycho Hardy, some of those that haven't had their chance yet in esports, come here into WRT on to show what they can do. And maybe some of the teams will be thinking, hang on, they're decent. Maybe we'll try and sign them and grab them for the next season.
Yeah, guys like Tycho Hardy, Lenny Pepinter as well, Ben Jabber-Coney, they've been around the scene for quite some time, but they've never been able to grab that brass ring and really elevate themselves to the top. And again, when you have guys like Ronhaar, Fasci, Longuet all eliminating themselves from Q1, it gives them that platform to show what they're truly made of. However, there are some big names in this session still, Nathan, that they need to go through. One of them we are watching now, the championship leader, Brendan Lee, the two-time F1 sim racing champion. He looks like he has refound his prime. We are watching what appears to be 2017 Brendan Lee once again, Nathan. I mean, he's really come back into form on this F1 24 game. He'll come across the line a 1 minute 30.009. We'll see how that stacks up in comparison to his rivals. Pedreño with a nice time in P2. Jake Benham has gone to the top just by 6 thousandths of a second ahead of Ruben Pedreño. So all these laps coming in thick and fast. Jake Benham appears to be the quickest.
Yeah, definitely. A good time as well from Ruben. He's definitely been a little bit off form in these last couple of races, so great to see him currently up in the top 2. We did see Kian and Lenny go back into the pits there, so I don't think that they had a valid lap, hence why they just bailed it and went back in. As we still have Tom Manley heading his way through into turn number 19 and 20. We'll see if he's on an actual run. I think he will be, as he is heading through into the final corner now. What will it be here for Tom Manley? To the line and goes to the top by 0.3 of a second there. A brilliant lap there by Tom Manley, but also he's certainly a man that at the moment has really been putting in the effort and has been getting some really good results here in WOR. Of course, second in the championship, and that, the only one that's, well, not really close to Brendan Lee, but he's the closest to Brendan Lee. He's up the top in, I think, 145 points. Is it, Dan, for Brendan Lee?
142 for Brendan Lee. It's 84 for Tom Manley. If my maths is serving me correctly, that's 58 points that Brendan Lee is clear of Tom Manley at the minute. So it's still possible for Tom to win the championship, but it's very slim. And I actually think, could Brendan, how many have we got? We got 3 races after this, Nathan, if I'm not mistaken. Brendan Lee could wrap up the championship tonight, if I'm not.
Yes.
Please, so we haven't got any graphics prepared or anything, or maybe I've missed them and I'm a complete idiot. So please do, someone in the live chat, let me know if Brendan Lee actually can win it. But Nathan, if my maths isn't wrong, he can do it today.
Well, if there's 75 points available today, as long as he leads by 50 going into the next round, no, he'd need to lead by 75. So he could do it just about. He'd need to finish first, and Tom would need to, I think, finish outside the points, or maybe on the P10. But certainly, it's possible. I mean, if Brendan wins and Tom DNFs, that's it done, which is mental to think. And we've still got 3 rounds to go.
Yeah, I mean, it is nuts. I don't think we've ever seen a championship that doesn't go at least to the penultimate race. So to have it finished by round number 9 in a 12-race season, I mean, that would be sheer dominance from Brendan Lee. And it's a shame that Jan Watmir, I think he's suffering with a bit of fatigue. He doesn't want to do 3 races a week. Of course, PSGL, that appears to be his priority. And then he, of course, does the Ironman League, which I think is just purely for enjoyment, Nathan. I mean, 100%, no qualifying. We don't have to go through this repetition of just drivers coming into the pits, doing 1 lap, coming out again. It's 100% all racing. That's what I love about the Ironman League. Make sure you come check that out on a Thursday evening. But here on a Sunday, no Dutchman. Very sad to see, but it's paved the way for Brendan Lee to what could be a very, very easy title.
Yep, it certainly has. As we do have a couple of cars heading out onto circuit. Julian Klaffenbach, one of the first, of course, hasn't set a lap time yet this session. Had a bit of an issue getting into Q2 with his internet, but has got back in now and he's about to start his first run. Just heading down to turn number 12, as well as everyone else is all heading out onto circuit, which will probably be on brand new tyres. But at the moment, it is Tom Manley at the top of the timings there by just under 0.3 of a second, which after 1 run is an absolutely astonishing gap to second place. But also a good lap as well from the likes of Ruben and Will. Alvaro as well in the top 5. The Williams team having a bit of a better run at the moment, but of course there's still many laps to go here in the Q2 session. I think they can get another lap in now and then probably go again at the end. So it's going to be, not necessarily down to this lap alone, but it will definitely be a good way to pave yourself into the final lap to see what you can achieve and hopefully make your way through into Q3.
Here comes Klaffenbach then, beginning his lap in the drop zone at the minute. We could be losing Shanaka Claes, Van Pookie, Kian Goldendorp and Lenny Pepinter from this session. But of course, still 7.5 minutes left to go. Most drivers out on their second runs. And we'll see Klaffenbach take to this lap. Very Suzuka-esque, this S's section as he flies through here. You can see how loose he is with the car. I think that is sort of the meta on this game, Nathan, that they like to drive it more oversteery as he jumps over the curb down at turn number 9. Here he is at the end of the first sector. It was purple on the mini-map. Whether that remains true, that remains to be seen, as he'll now take to this very long back straight in towards turn number 12, Nathan. That's where we're going to see most of the overtakes.
Yeah, we certainly will. It's a great way to get some moves down into turn 12 as well. A very big break-in zone into sort of a 90-degree hairpin type corner as we see Julian heading to there now, just breaking after that 100-meter board. And a bit of a glitch as well. On the left-hand side, you can kind of hop the curb and go off the track without it classifying as it, hence why we do see a lot of cars cutting that hairpin. As we head our way through into a bit of a weird corner through turn 13, 14 and 15, you have to kind of go against the apex in a couple of those sections as we see Julian head his way through what is classed as a triple right-hander, but in my eyes, I think it's just one long corner into turn number 19 at the penultimate corner, and you can see Julian is absolutely throwing the car into every corner as possible, just trying to forelock the car in a little bit like what Fernando Alonso would do, and it's working as he's got himself up into P5 there with a 29.891. So there's a couple more cars on track here. Keen Godendorp heading his way through to the penultimate corner now, into the final corner. Of course, got P2 back in Spa. We'll see what he can do here on his first lap in Q2, and goes P2. And Kian, especially in quali, has been really good so far these last couple of rounds. So maybe he's definitely another one it may be a shot for pole position again.
Yeah, nice stuff for Kian Goldendorp. Still no one quick enough to top Tom Manley. We're watching Alvaro Carreton on his run. He's made a mistake in at that final 2 corners. The double left-hander, he'll come back into the pit lane. Same goes for Shanaka Clay. Ben Shabakoni in the drop zone at the minute, down by 200. Will also duck into the pit lane. What about Brendan Lee, our championship leader? He can wrap it up tonight. Will he come into the pit lane? Indeed, he will. So lots of drivers not happy with their Q2 runs. It's Van Pookie. He is now coming up towards the line, and he will see himself into second position, putting Philip Preschnader in that drop zone. A nice lap from Istvan, but still no one quick enough to beat Tom Manley. He can keep the championship alive tonight, Nathan, but we'll have to wait and see because, his championship rival, Brendan Lee, down in the dumps in P13 at the minute. It's looking good if you're a Tom Manley fan.
Yep, it certainly does, and it's a brilliant lap time, wasn't it? That was at the start of the session 10 minutes ago, and the track wasn't anywhere near what it is now. And of course, you can see Isban as well up into P2 with a 0.6, who has also been doing a little bit better in qualifying in these last couple of weeks, and also see him up in second place. But of course, Ruben as well. He's been, I think, out of Q1 on many occasions this season where he's raced, or maybe out in Q2. But I think with a 0.748 here, he could definitely be on a charge to go into Q3. He's 2 tenths clear of Philip Prejneda, so it should be safe enough him here to get into Q3. But I've got to say, it's not very often we say this, but it is quite a surprise to see Philip in the drop zone. I'll say, this season alone, it's been a very good one for Philip. So, yeah, normally we expect to see him through into Q3.
Yeah, no, he's been decent this season, especially in qualifying. You'd expect to see Philip Prejneda ahead of some of these guys that are in front of him. We've got a big mix of drivers in that top 10. You've got established esports figures like Alvaro Caraton, up and coming, and Jake Benham as well. I think we can class him as very much established and integrated. He's been in the F1 esports scene, 2 seasons now, if I'm not mistaken. Jake Benham, I mean, he's been around for a decent amount of time. I remember when he was the up-and-coming star, and we were talking about him in the same way that we regard the likes of Kian Goldendorp, Klaffenbach, Joris Krozen as well. It's a nice continuation. Good to see him still in P5. But now, Nathan, with 3 minutes left to go in that drop zone, Philip Prejneda, Ben Abercrombie, Brendan Lee, Joris Krozen, and Shanika Clay, those 5 drivers, they need a good lap to get themselves into the final parts of qualifying.
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, it's definitely a big surprise to see Brendan there, but then again, he didn't set a second lap. But also, I suppose he's got a little bit of pressure off him now, but as he's leading by over 50 points, he can, of course, maybe afford to have a bit of a poor Q2 because he's only 3 positions away from the top 10. It's not like he's got to carve his way through a whole field. He's only on the brink of that top 10. I'm sure he will get himself through into Q3, but if not, it's not the biggest issue in the world for Brendan. As we do see many cars now heading out onto circuit to get ready for their final runs of the Q2 session, and Philip Prejneda will be first out in his beautiful orange and black livery. I've got to say, I do like that McLaren-esque livery there, ran by Philip as he heads his way into the long S's section where, surprisingly, we don't see cars make mistakes. I mean, with the way that section is made and the speed the cars take through, I really don't understand how the cars don't spin out at some occasions because the speed is absolutely immense in that part.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys, you can see them sort of dancing their way around that corner. It's not cookie cutter like you would see around some other circuits in these high downforce corners. They are throwing the cars in through there. And Philip Prejneda, you commented on his livery. I do like it. However, he's adjusted it from last week. I think it was all orange last time out in Belgium. And that's all well and good, but he's made his blip black on the mini-map. So that means it's another driver with a very dark themed blip. I mean, you've pretty much got black, green, some shades of blue, and then one white and one grey, which is the 2 Mercedes drivers. Actually quite fitting, the pair of them. But Philip, it's a nice livery. I think just swap the colours around and then we'd enjoy it a hell of a lot more, at least from myself and Nathan's point of view. But here he comes through the final couple of corners. He only needs to find 9,000th of a second in order to match Lenny Pepinter. That is so incredibly... It's such an incredibly small amount of time when you're not talking about Formula 1, but that 100th that he will need to jump ahead of Lenny, that is made within a corner. One mistake, Nathan, and he's not going to get that lap done.
It certainly will not, as he heads his way through the first couple of corners, of course, getting back on the battery nice and quickly heading out of turn 1 as you head your way through into the S's section here, and we'll see how much up that Philip is by on this lap. I mean, this first sector doesn't always mean a lot. You don't always gain the most time in this section of the track as he heads his way up into turn on the hill. He's up by just under a 10th here, which would be brilliant for Philip as he's still got 2 sectors to go. So this could be a brilliant lap here by the young McLaren driver as he heads his way down to turn 11 at the braking zone, gets the car turned in nicely, hops the curb, and then, of course, running a little bit wide on the exit, gets the battery open and gets that DRS on as he heads his way down to turn number 12, a long run along this back straight into the next hairpin. We'll see him break around that 100-meter board, get the car turned in nicely as you head down to third gear, And then, of course, back in the power nice and early. Bit of a squabble on the exit, but nothing too harmful. And he's up here down by over 2.5 tenths of a second. And if that's the case for everyone, this could be a right fight heading your way into Q3.
Yeah, clock struck 0. No new laps can be started now. Jake Benham was the last one to get his underway. He's just entering the second sector now. Meanwhile, Philip Prejnader is heading in towards the final. Double left-hander. Very tricky on the exit here. Be careful not to invalidate. Philip has done a very good job of that. Now into the final corner. Down at turn number 20. What is it going to be for Philip? P6 safe for now, but for how much longer? Kean going up ahead of Philip at the minute in P4, slides his way through the final corner, will not find any sort of improvement. Tom Manley, he's invalidated on his run. Ben Jabber-Conye is next through the final corner, invalid and out of qualifying. Disappointing for Ben Jabber-Conye there. Ruben Pedreño up next towards the line. He will remain in P3. Let's check in on Brendan Lee, up by over a tenth of a second. Lenny Pepinter has secured himself into the next session. Klaffenbach has gone into P2. No one able to trump Tom Manley at the minute. Here is Brendan Lee, the championship leader, the two-time F1 sim racing champion, in through the final corner now. What is it going to be for Brendan Lee? Into P8 and secure into the next session, eliminating Philip Prejnader in the process. But Tom Manley, what a run from him. Istvan Pukki managed to slot himself into P2, Nathan, as you can see the results up on your screen. But from that initial bank of time that the young Brit set, no one was able to trump it.
Not at all. Tom Manley, absolutely brilliant performance. Takes that fastest lap in Q2 ahead of Istvan Pukki in second, Julian Klaffenbach in third, Joris Krozen top four. Then we have Lenny Pepinter, Ruben Pedreño, Will Lewis, Brendan Lee, Jake Benham and Kean Godendup making their way through into Q3. And then we did lose Philip Prejnader, Tiger Hardy, Alvaro Caraton, and Ben Jabber-Conye and Shanika Clay. And a bit of a time there for Shanika. 5 tenths off of the top position with a 130.044. I think he invalidated on both his second and third run.
A disappointing qualifying from Shanika Clay there, eliminated in Q2. And Nathan, it is not even 7:30 yet, and we're talking about Q3. Can we do this every week, please? I would absolutely love that. Of course, this is the last Sunday we're actually going to be spending together because, of course, everyone next week, WOR is on Monday with the for the final 3 rounds. Actually, of course, the triple header I believe is coming up. All of those races are taking place at the same time. Of course, they're on the Americas side of things. That means it's going to be evening time here in Europe. And so we are, of course, going to be racing on a Monday instead, so as not to clash with all of those events. So, join us next week on Monday. But Nathan, Q3 about to get underway. And surely there's no one you can predict other than Tom Manley for pole.
No, I mean, a 0.5 on his first run. No one got within, I think it was 80 thousandths of it on their third runs after the tracks evolved and got a lot quicker. This could be, a really good chance here for Tom to get a pole and maybe even convert it to a win. I think you said last time that Barry Burman went from pole to win for the first time this season. Tom might be able to do that tonight because his pace is absolutely electric. And I mean, I think he went out again and did a third run, but I don't think he found an improvement here. So if that's the case, maybe Tom Manley needs to just get pole in his first lap here in Q3. But we do see Joris Krozen, the low man, out on circuit. Of course, currently in P5, but no one has set a lap time yet. I mean, it's great to see the likes of Joris and Julian Lenny up into the top 10 here. And of course, Kean Godendup as well, all showing what they can do and being part of a point scoring position here in WOR Tier 1.
Yeah, you can see all 10 drivers on your screen in Q3. Everyone in the live chat, please do let us know who you are going for with your prediction. And I think, Nathan, Tom's lap was so good at the beginning of Q2, not even he could beat it. I think I did invalidate it, to be completely fair, but I mean, that was such a stunning Q2 lap. The first lap of the session as well. Considering the fact that no one had even put rubber down on the circuit in Q1, that is a blistering lap time for Tom Manley.
It certainly is, as Joris comes back into the pits after going out for a quick out-lap run. So now then we get the boring part where we have to sit here and wait for them to go out onto circuit. I mean, they've all got brand new tyres, I think, so they can all go for at least 2 runs on a brand new set of tyres. And so I do see one of the mechanics exiting the pit lane, and that will be for Lenny Pepinter. who's going to head out on circuit first. I mean, Lenny's had a bit of an up and down season. He's, taken part in a couple of races. I think he's been in the top 10 a couple of times, but also has had a couple of very poor races as well. So it's been a bit of an odd one for him, but we'll see what Lenny can do tonight. He's guaranteed to start in the top 10, so he's going to be going into the race with points. But the question is, will he exit the race in the top 10 point scoring positions as he heads his way through into the first sector?
It's a nice livery as well on Lenny Pepinter's car. Of course, the black chevron, I mean, we're not going to complain too much about it anymore, I suppose. It's a very nice livery, and I guess you got to have the black blip. So, yeah. Fair enough, Lenny Pepinter, but absolutely, he's going to start in the top 10, and he's a driver that can, on his day, be very competitive inside that top 10. Got Race Clutch in his name, I think. Yeah, no, they are still active, not affiliated with Alpine, if I'm not mistaken, anymore, but Lenny Pepinter still a part of that community. We'll see how he's able to do. He's come out very, very early, Nathan. He's going to have no visual clutter in front of him unless he catches up to some drivers on their outlaps. But I think Lenny Pepinter is going to have a decent time of things on his run. He's going to be pretty undisturbed.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of a surprise to see him go out so early compared to the others, but I suppose he just wants to have a bit more free air and also give himself a chance that if he does make a mistake on this lap, he's got more than enough time to get back in, get himself onto a new set of tyres and go out for another run as he heads his way through to turn 16, 17 and turn 18, and then down into the last couple of corners to begin his first lap here in the Q3 session. Of course, guys, get your predictions in who you think will take pole position, but I don't think you can go with anyone other than Tom Manley, but I will go for someone different. I'm going to go with Julian Klaffenbach.
Julian Klaffenbach to take pole position, says Nathan Richards. We'll see if that comes to fruition. It's hard for me to go against Tom Manley, but I feel like if you don't predict him, that means I can't predict him. So I'll go with Jake Benham to take pole.
Will Lewis.
Oh, yeah, Will Lewis is... thank you for reminding me. Will Lewis.
Disappointed there, Dan.
I'm sorry. I forgot he was there, truth be told. He's so high up the grid, I didn't even realise. He's up in the sky is Will Lewis. But yeah, I'll go with Will Lewis then to take pole. Sorry, Jake. Maybe next week I'll vote for you. But Lenny Pepinter on his run at the minute, heading in towards turn number 12 down this long DRS straight, getting it wide open. We'll see his top speed at the end of this part of the circuit shifting up into 8th and getting that straight line speed is going to be at about 200 miles per hour, peaking at 199, so close to the big 200 at the braking zone, down to 50. He cut his speed by 75% in that braking zone. Unbelievable, the power of these Formula 1 cars. Now into the long-winded left-hander of turn at number 15, where we could see some lurching dive bomb moves in that corner, and in towards now the triple right-hander even, then in towards the double left-hander, turn number 19 and 20. Be careful not to run too wide through there. Using all the circuit is Lenny Pepinter. It's been a decent lap for him as he slides his way through the final corner. I might have spoken a bit too soon. A 1 minute 29.734, still not quicker than Tom Manley's Q2 time.
It just shows how good of a time it was, wasn't it? It was quite funny if no one can beat a .533 here in Q3. That will just show how good of a lap it was in Q2, as we do see Ruben Pedroño head his way into the final couple of corners there, as Julian did invalidate his lap. And we'll see what can Ruben set. Can he go up to provisional pole ahead of Lenny Pepinter, heading his way out of the final corner? He's also suffered an invalidation. Who's next to cross the line? It will be Will Lewis, who's also suffered an invalidation. The next one to cross the line will be Keane Gundorp, who is on a lap at the moment, hasn't made his lap time invalid just yet, as he heads his way out of the final corner, up to the line for Keane, and he goes to the top there with a .677. That is still a tenth and a half off of the time of Tom Manley.
Yeah, what is actually happening here? Jake Benham will come to the line, 1 minute 29.582. It's a good lap from him, still not quicker. There it is, it's Van Pookia, 1 minute 29.466. It took, halfway through Q3 for someone to beat Tom Manley's Q2 starting time. That is unbelievable how quick Tom was. However, he's got to do it in this session. His lap time was a 1 minute 29.474. Of course, it was invalid, so it's not going to count, but a 1 minute 29.474, that's going to put him in P2, not quicker than Isfan Pookie. So maybe that solidified bet, Nathan, that everyone's put down, maybe that's not going to come to fruition.
It'd be nice to see Istvan get back on pole position again. I don't think he's done so this season, but he has been, up in the top 5, up in the, I think the top 3 as well on a couple of occasions so far. And we do know when he's in pole position, when he's in that top 2, he can perform very well and, maybe lead himself to a victory. I mean, he was up at the top back in, I think it was the start of the season at Brazil before it was himself and Otis and Jake went for a completely wrong strategy and unfortunately didn't end up being on that top spot, but it could have certainly ended that way if they didn't have the rain. So we'll see. Maybe it is Pookie's night, but it is a good job for the Mercedes team being first and second here, heading into the final part of Q3. So maybe it could be their night here.
Absolutely. As we're getting in towards what Chris Buxton likes to call the banzai phase. Absolutely fantastic quote from him there. And only 5 drivers have set a lap time at the minute. One of the big names leaping out to me, Brendan Lee, yet to get a lap time on the board as well. He was a little bit so-and-so, to be completely honest with you, in that first session, for lack of a better term. Brendan Lee, he looked shaky. I think I can say that. Instead, he was in the drop zone for a very long time, just about scraped through, and I think P8 it was by the end of the session. So Brendan Lee does need to pull it out of the bag if he wants to be fighting for pole position around this circuit. Although, Nathan, it's a pretty decent track for overtakes. There's a lot of places where you can go up the inside, especially in towards turn number 12 and through turn number 1 as well. So definitely, Brendan Lee, he's not going to be too upset, I think, if he doesn't qualify in P1.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's definitely not been like what we normally see from Brendan Lee, getting lap times after lap times. It's, I think he's done 1 lap. That's all he's had so far. No, sorry, 2 laps. Tonight so far he's gone out I think 4 times. It's definitely not been the best for Brendan Lee, of course, being down in P8 at the moment. Certainly will be looking to try and set a time that hopefully can put him up into the top 4. I mean, we said it before, he's down in the bottom 5, down in the bottom 6, and then all of a sudden puts himself up into pole position. That is Brendan Lee. So we'll see what he can do here, as we do have a couple of cars heading out onto track. The first one being, I think it might be Will Lewis.
Yeah, indeed it is. Will Lewis will be the first one to take to the circuit for the final runs in qualifying. 2.5 minutes left to go, and it's not even 7:45 yet. I think we're going to be done before 7:45, which is absolutely mental. Can we do this every single week, please, everyone? Of course, we've lost a good few drivers from this session. That is why we didn't have Q1. Because if you read the note at the top of the comment section, Ron Harlonge, Evans, Linton and Fashi, they're starting last. So that's 5 drivers out of Q1. No point doing that session at all. So we went straight into Q2 here this evening. That's why we are so close to the race at such an early time. With 2 minutes left to go, everyone coming out onto the circuit. Will Lewis, Nathan, in acres of space.
Yep, certainly has all the track to himself here to go for his final run of the session and hopefully get himself up into the top 5. Only 5 drivers so far have set a lap, so that just shows that it's very difficult to get a lap time around here because of the track limit violations. I mean, there's a lot of corners which you can cut a little bit, and I think sometimes the drivers underestimate it a bit too much, overestimate it, a bit too much, cut the corner too much, and of course then lose the lap. But it's also a little bit of RNG, I think, on some occasions on this circuit with some of the track limits, but it's nothing that's too harmful at all for the drivers, as we do see Will Lewis now head his way through into the final couple of corners now in the final set, looking to begin his final run and his first run here that he can set of this session. So it's all down to Will Lewis as he heads his way into the final corner in the car number 5, looking to try and go after Sebastian Vettel, but we'll see. Can he take pole?
Yeah, Will Lewis, he needs to pull it out of the bag here without a lap time in Q3. So far, he is not going to have another shot, another crack at the whip, another opportunity to get a lap. So he's got to make it perfect. He's got to make this one count, as he'll now take to the first sector. We will ride on board with the blue-clad driver heading in towards the S section. Take as much of the circuit as you can. Really throw the car into these corners, and Will Lewis doing exactly that. Slight correction through turn number 7, in through 8 and 9. Be careful not to invalidate on the inside there. Will Lewis has done a very good job of doing that so far. Now into sector 2. It's a nice easy run compared to the first part of the lap. Now in through turn number 11. Got to get the best exit possible down this very long straight. Open up that DRS as you power down in towards turn number 12. The prime overtaking opportunity along this circuit. Will Lewis, 200 miles per hour at the braking zone, cuts that down to 64 at the apex. Incredible, the braking power of these modern day Formula 1 cars. Now here he comes through the final sector, very technical through here. I love the variation around this circuit of the Americas track here in Austin, Texas. What can Will Lewis do? Is it a Texas-sized lap from him? We'll have to wait and see, as now only 2 more corners to go through turn number 19. Be careful not to invalidate through there. Will Lewis edging his way through the final corner as he'll get on the power for the final time on this lap. It's a 1 minute 29.687. A disappointing P4 from him with 9 other drivers in behind him. Yet set a lap. Kian Goldenup will give up on his run. Here is Ruben Pedreño, the next one to come across the line, also with an outer lap time so far in this session. He will head through the final corner now and come towards the line into P3. We'll have a look at Tom Manley. He is up next towards the line and he'll go to the quickest position so far. Julian Klaffenbach will take that off of him. Joris Krozen. Jake Benham is actually next up through the final corner. Ooh. He will go to the top of the order. Joris Krozen will be the next to cross the line. It's P5 from him. Brendan Lee to the line will displace his RHG teammate Istvan Pukki. I think comes home in P4, meaning that Jake Benham is on pole position here at the Circuit of the Americas, and indeed it is. Here is your qualifying order. Jake Benham, Julian Klaffenbach starting on the front row ahead of Tom Manley and Istvan Pukki, arguably the 2 favourites for this session. Brendan Lee and Joris Krozen make it an all RHG row number 3 with Ruben Pedreño in 7th. 8th is Kian Goldenup, a current Williams development driver and a former Williams development driver, and then Will Lewis in P9 and Lenny Pepinter rounding out that top 10. Nathan, I mean, if you hadn't convinced me to change my prediction, I'd have been right.
You would have been, and well, it would have been P1 and P2 for us. Julian finishing in 2nd place. Absolutely brilliant with Tom Manley as well, up in the top 3, but the top 4 there separated by just under half a tenth. That shows how close it is around this track. Any of those top 4 there could have took that pole position, and we're going to be in for a very exciting race indeed, as we, of course, have to now do the whole retiring malarkey, or maybe getting a new session underway before we can get into the race. And, well, we're done at 22 then. I've got to say, that is nice indeed, isn't it? 22-8, yeah. Ready for the race.
Absolutely. We're going to be done by like 8:30. I'm going to love life, because I'm going to get to go off and I'm going to get to call my girlfriend and we're going to get to play games all night long. I can't wait for it this evening. But of course, I'm very excited for this race upcoming. I am fuming though that I didn't get my prediction right. Will Lewis disappointed in P9. I could have gone with Jake Benham, but you told me otherwise. So thank you very, very much, Nathan. Let us know, everyone, in the live chat if your prediction was correct. But I don't see many predictions, 1 at all, and 2 for Jake Benham. I don't see anyone predicting Jake Benham in the live chat, so he's really come out of nowhere, Nathan.
He certainly has. It's been brilliant from Jake Benham there. Hasn't really been anywhere near his top form, recently, especially on this F124 game. Has shown it today up onto pole position, but of course Brendan Lee as well up into the top 5. That's, it's decent for him. He wasn't really on the pace of the bet, just over a tenth off from that pole position, but still it will be a P5 for him, so still many points can be scored. But Tom Manley, he's ahead of him, and I mean, it doesn't mean too much with only 3 races to go in a 58 championship lead, but you never know what could happen between Tom and Brendan here.
Yeah, they're pretty close to each other on circuit. What was it? Tom Manley's in 3rd, Brendan Lee's 5th. So Brendan Lee, he could employ some tactics, just tactical dive bombing towards turn at number 1. We actually see a lot of the times in real life Formula 1, Nathan, drivers do like to do that. They fan out into that first corner. It's a very forgiving turn in terms of lock up, because of course it's an uphill corner, so you can take it a lot later than you actually think you could, and it's very, very wide as well. It can promote some great racing, and this is a circuit that I actually know quite well. I remember when I got really into preparing for the actual tracks rather than the races, and COTA was one of them. I made so many notes on this circuit, and I absolutely love talking about this track.
It's a nice track. I mean, I still think it's one of the most underrated on the calendar, personally. I think there's, it's been hated a lot. I mean, there was at one point, I know IRL, there's talks of it being taken off the calendar, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, because, I mean, there's not many years where it hasn't produced a good race, or at least a good qualifying. Here as well, on the esports side of things, always a great track to go to and, watch some of the racing, and also it's quite aesthetically pleasing as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great circuit. I mean, it's one of Herman Tilke's designs. He has made some pretty bad circuits in his time. I'm trying to think of them off the top. He made Sochi. That's all you have to know. He made Sochi, which thankfully is off the calendar, and hopefully
you like Sochi?
No, I hate Sochi.
I liked it. I loved Sochi.
Disgraceful.
Did he make Miami?
I think he did. I think he did.
Which is. Ugh.
I know his son has gotten into track designs as well, so I know that the Tilke design names is still living on. I don't know how many of them are Herman or how many of them are his sons, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Kota, one of his designs, and I think he nailed it. This is a fantastic circuit. A lot of people not too happy with it, but you know what? I love it. Any circuit, Nathan, that produces good racing, I'm here for it, because that is what, as commentators, we want to see. We have to put all of our biases aside, and we just get to commentate the most exciting race possible, and I think Kota can provide that.
Yeah, he definitely can. I mean, you can overtake him pretty much all parts of the track, maybe bar the last sector, but everywhere else you can really get a good battle, and you can, go side by side, and sometimes you have a bit of contact and, a couple of collisions, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it, here over on the esports side of things. And I think we'll really get a good fun race tonight, because the cars are so, the drivers are so close on pace. They're separated by a tenth in the top 5. I think it was just 2 tenths in the top 10, which shows that pace-wise they're going to be pretty much equal going into this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be so fun, so close as well. This circuit does like to promote DRS trains, which is, not the best in the world, but tell you what, these drivers, I don't think they care. In real life F1, where of course the stakes are a lot higher, these cars are worth millions of pounds, so it's not really worth anything on the games. And so these drivers, they just like to go for it. They just like to have these fun battles that we wouldn't see in real F1, which is probably as well why it is a lot better to watch league racing of this track rather than the actual real races, although the races aren't bad themselves. I just love talking about this circuit. But yeah, we're just waiting for the grid to get set up, and I think one thing, Nathan, I'd like to mention is I just want to give a big thank you to everyone tuning in this evening. I think there's no point hiding it. The viewing numbers have been a lot lower in recent weeks. That is compounded by a number of different things. We're missing, the big name in Jarno Opmeer. This game is also just not that hyped up. People don't like watching this game. Drivers don't enjoy racing on it. And I just want to give a big thank you to everyone actually still tuning in here this evening. Your view is incredibly important to us. So please, just keep tuning in every single week. We see you all in the live chat. Sometimes we don't read a lot of the messages. I know, especially in the big races, Nathan, where there's like thousands and thousands of people racing, we don't get to go through every single one. But a lot of the names that I'm seeing here are names that we see every single week. So I'm very glad to see we got a loyal fan base here at WOR.
We have. Yeah, we definitely have. You can say that as well for some of the drivers who turn up every single week. Even though they don't enjoy racing the game, they've made it very clear, but it's always great to see them turn up and race. And, some of them put in hours of practice and they don't enjoy it, which just shows the loyalty they got here towards WOR. And also, it's the same for some of them here who drive up in PSL as well. They have such good loyalty. It's great to see them here. But also, sometimes I suppose there's a positive as well, because we do get to see some of the newer upcoming drivers race against some of the pros and see what they're able to do. And, teams will be looking at stuff like this because, if you see the likes of Julian and Yoris, part of R8G, linked with Kick and Haas, give it a couple of seasons' time, you never know. They might be jumping in a seat and having a go in esports.
Absolutely. And it is a good opportunity for these younger guys to really get involved. The names like Joris Krozen didn't really come up on my radar at all, Nathan, before this game, and it's so good to see him. These young drivers who are normally tier 2 runners, they get the opportunity to compete in tier 1 whenever there's a space for them. They are happy to jump on this bandwagon, this crazy bandwagon that is PC tier 1. We've had some big moments here in the past, and I'm sure we're going to have loads more in the future. We're just waiting for the grid to get sorted out. And I think, Nathan, all the talk is done for. Thank you for the love in the live chat as well. I see a few messages, Nathan, about you and I, how it wouldn't be the same without us. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to let that soak into my ego, so cheers. Thank you very much for your comments, everyone. We're about to get ready for the race to get underway. I think we'll see you on the other side of a quick word from our sponsors at Next Level Racing. Welcome back, everyone, into the race. We're getting ready to start it off here. Nice, clear, sunny blue skies in Austin, Texas, and it's going to make for a fantastic race ahead of us. And here we are already. We've missed all of that spiel. We get straight into the action. And we are underway here in Austin, Texas. Jake Benham will lead in towards turn number 1, already beginning to clear Julian Klaffenbach as they climb the hill in towards that first corner. Jake Benham will lead this race. Yellow flags already. There's a car spun off in the back. That is Istvan Pukki round and out of this race. And as side by side between Brendan Lee and Tycho Hardy, what a start for Lenny Pepinter on his hard tyres. Everyone on the entire grid is on that set of the tyres. Will Lewis has had an awful start. Shanika Clay's down the order. Nathan, pandemonium in the first lap.
Yeah, absolute chaos, especially at the front, of course. Lenny Pepinter getting himself up into P4, and luckily does keep himself within a second of the top 3. Looking further down as well, we've got Shabakonya making a bit of a sell there on Euro's Frozen to get himself up into P7, slight bit of contact as they head their way out of turn 11 down to turn number 12 at the hairpin. We've got lots of cars closing in here. Reece Linton, believing, I think he started bottom 5, he's now up into P9, looking to get into P8 here, ahead of Ben Shabakonya. Heading down to turn 12 to the outside it goes, slight bit of contact yet again. Gets pushed a little bit wide, but has the inside line heading into turn 13 and gets that move done for P8. A brilliant start here by Reece Linton, and also Ishmael Fassi, Thomas Ronha, who also started then at the back.
Yeah, it's been a great start for those 3 drivers. Ferrari have had a difficult time of things. John Evans down in 16th. Nicholas Longe has moved backwards in this race as well. He is down in 19th position. They probably got held up by the spinning Istvan Pukki. What a disappointing start for him. Starting in P4, Nathan, and already he's down in last position. It's not over for him unless he decides to come into the pits and retire from this race. Doesn't seem like that's going to be what happens, as Ishmael Fassi will move ahead of Reece Linton in towards turn number 1, and then he'll find the move on Ben Shabakonya side by side between these two, and I think Ben is just about going to muscle out Ishmael Fassi. He's made that position up. Let's have a look at the positions gained. Ishmael Fassi, Nathan, in the first lap up 10 spots in this Grand Prix. Reece Linton's up 6. Ron Haar's up 9 as well. What a start for those 3.
Yeah, absolutely perfect start. I mean, they're all on hards, so strategy was it's going to be a little bit more boring than what we normally see. But it's great to see some of these guys, even though they're all at the same point in tyres, they're all making moves and really got a big difference in pace there. As Thomas Ron Haar makes a move ahead of Reece Linton and now goes up into the top 10. So from P20 to P10 goes Thomas Ron Haar in a lap and a half as we head our way down to turn number 12 here. Brendan Lee looking for a move here on Lenny Pepinter, but decides to make the better of it and backs off, heading into the braking zone further back as well. Alvaro Carlos on there looking to make a move around the outside here of Thomas Ron Haar. Reece Linton's up his inside as well as they head their way into turn 13, 14 and 15. And we've had some brilliant scraps here on the opening couple of laps here. Now Alvaro Carlos looking to make a move ahead of Ron Haar, but couldn't quite get alongside the kicksaver, so stays in P11 for now as they head their way to end lap 2. We're going to lap 3 of 28 here, and Jake Benham still in the lead ahead of Julian Klaffenbach, Tom Manley in the top 3.
It was a brilliant start from Reece Linton, Nathan, but all of a sudden he's lost 4 places on that last lap. He started the lap in P9, now all the way down in 10th. Keen Goldenup will come into the pit lane at the end of lap number 2. Could that be his day done, or is it a strategy change for the Dutchman? We'll have to wait and see. He had a difficult time of things last time out in Belgium, of course. Qualified in P2, was fighting for the lead, and then got caught up in an incident with Istvan Pukki. There was no further action for that one. Not even sure if a complaint was lodged, but the pair of them down in 19th and 20th. So difficult races in Belgium for them. It's going to translate over to Austin tonight. But Jake Benham, Nathan, still doing a good job leading the way ahead of Julian Klaffenbach and Tom Manley. For the most part, it's been a very quiet time of things in the top 5, top 10 actually, and everything's been happening in the latter half of the grid.
It certainly has, as we do see Shanika Clay looking to make a move ahead of Philip Preshnoda, but Philip is on the outside looking to also, I think, get that P14 back, or at least make that move in the first place as they head their way down to turn number 12 here. They still have their little battle, and a bit of damage there for Ruben in 13th there, so he must have also got involved on the earliest skirmishes on the opening lap. Those who do see Philip push Shanika wide.
Whoa.
And get himself up into P14. What happened there, Dan?
Oh, it's Shanika Clay sliding all over the place. Now he's back up the inside of Philip Prejneda. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a move. He's around the outside of the triple right-hander. Still wheel-to-wheel between these two. This is for 14th position. Philip Prejneda is able to muscle out Shanika Clay. These guys fighting like it's the win of the race. They're down in 14th place. What an absolute rhyme from me there. What an absolute battle from those guys. As Ishmael Fassi, Nathan, he's trying to continue his charge up the order, looking for the move on Bet Chabakonyi.
Indeed, as we head our way through the first couple of corners there, we do see, of course, Ishmael Fassi getting ahead of Ronhart, so he's made, I think, 10 positions as well. Here he was from 19th up to 9th. Ronhart 20th to 10th there. Reese Linton also started a little bit further down, but he's also dropped back. He was up in P7 earlier on, so not sure what happened there to Reese Linton. As we look further ahead there, Tucker Hardy as well up in the top 6. He started, I think, what was it, P12 as well? He's also had a really good start here tonight in T1. It's had, we've had a really mix-up, haven't we, over the past couple of laps here. People move up and down in different positions, and lots of Lenny Pepinta here on for a podium as well. But I remember back in PSL Lee Series, he was also fighting for the win as well against Nicholas Longay and Barry Burman. So he's definitely a driver to keep an eye on. Here's Brendan Lee yet again going for a bit of a fake scent here on Pepinta as they head their way through to turn 13-14.
Apologies about the audio issues, Nathan. I accidentally made you very, very quiet. Now I can hear you just fine, but I think it's something I clicked on my OBS. I'm still getting used to the one monitor setup. Truth be told, I've really missed my second monitor ever since it broke, so it should all be okay. Let me know if Nathan needs to be adjusted in comparison to myself, but it should all be okay for the time being. Lap number 5 we are now approaching, and it has been very quiet at the front of the order. Julian Klaffenbach has been very happy to let Jake Benham lead this race, and you can see into that first corner, Jake Benham taking that very conservatively. Oh, Lenny. 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 Oh dear, Lenny, and that is because Julian Klaffenbach, he could have gone for the move, but he just stayed in line with Jake Benham, and they all broke very, very conservatively there. I think Lenny Pepinter maybe wants them to get a move on.
He does, certainly. I mean, Lenny's really got some good pace, hasn't he, tonight here in the race? He's looking really strong. I mean, maybe the fact he qualified a little bit further down was because maybe he's got a setup that shoots more in the race rather than in qualifying. As Brendan Lee, though, also not really, he can make a move easily on Lenny here because he's got the battery to do so, but he's choosing just to stick behind here at the moment. So no real, threat here from Brendan Lee. But we do see Joris Krozen here closing in on the back of Tiger Hardy, burning all his battery down to turn 12. As we do see Julian Klaffenbach take the lead of the Grand Prix, heading into turn 12. And further back there, Joris has got up the inside here of Tiger Hardy. There's two kick liveries go side by side, heading into turn 13 and 14. Tycho's still got that edge for now as they head their way into the left-hander, but Joris is up the inside here, looking to try and make that move. You're going to try and figure out which one's which is both in the exact same livery, and Tycho back up the inside and has got that move back ahead and keeps that P6 ahead. Joris Krozen, and that's showing there from Tiger Hardy. He's not here to mess around. He's not going to let people make moves. He wants to defend that P6 position. Okay,
Tycho Hardy's in car number 5. Joris Krozen, car number 12. We've got to remember that. They've got the exact same sponsors as well. Not only is the livery in the exact same design, they've got the same sponsors. Good to see Brendan Lee with some variation. He is up the inside of Lenny Pepinter towards that first corner. He's struggling to get the move done. I think Brendan, he is looking to try and be right behind
He
Tom
backs
Manley.
off.
I'm not too sure really what Brendan is actually thinking at the minute as they head in through the first sector. It's been very, very calm in the last couple of laps ever since those sort of early moves as Lenny Pepperton makes a slight mistake through turn number 9. Could open the door for Brendan Lee down this back straight in towards turn number 12. See what happens here as Brendan is all over the rear of the Frenchman, headed off the exit of turn number 11, but he's not going to have that run in towards the corner. What about Jake Benham looking up the inside of Julian Klaffenbach in towards turn number 12? Easy move for him up the inside as Ishmael Fassi, he's going for the move.
Yeah, brilliant move there from Ishmael Fassi. Up ahead of Ben Chabakonyi, up into P8 now, looking to really secure himself some decent points here in this Grand Prix. 6 laps in, has made 12 positions, so doing a very nice job indeed is Ishmael Fassi. As yet again, we did see Joris Krozen on the back of Tiger Hardy again, but this time couldn't quite get alongside into turn 12, so had to back off. Heading into the braking zone, looking ahead, looking behind, we've got Thomas Ronhaar here, looking to make a move ahead of Ben Chabakonyi. They head their way through turn 19 and turn 20. It's certainly not been the best race so far for Ben Chabakonyi here, losing many positions on the opening few laps. Now could drop down behind Ronhaar, who will go to the inside, down to turn 1, and looks to make that move for P9 as they head into the braking zone. Bench will try and hang it around the outside, but I don't think there's anything he can do there ahead of Ronhaar. As now we do see Alvaro Caraton get onto his tails further ahead. Joris Krozen got the move done. We missed that one there, Dan, for P6. A brilliant move.
I caught that one. Oh, sorry, mate. I caught that one.
You should have cut home for me then.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I didn't want to. You were still doing a battle that was still going on there. But yeah, Joris Krozen down the inside of Tycho Hardy. A nice move on his R8G fellow man there. But yeah, Joris finally got that move done. I think that was a lap in the making for him. We've still got 3 kit cars all together. Thomas Ronhaar could make it 4 in a row if he gets through on Ishmael Fassi. But the way Ishmael's been racing, I see that as highly unlikely, as Thomas will close the gap. You can see Julian Klaffenbach. I don't know where I got Brendan Lee from. Julian Klaffenbach will get the move on Jake Benham. Thomas Ronhaar having to defend from Ben Chabakonyi in towards turn number 12. All the blue cars are in one big train with a kit car in the middle. And I think if they just swap over, we'd have, what, three blue cars following behind 4 green cars. So, so lots of variety on the grid tonight, Nathan.
There certainly is, and I've got to mention, I didn't know what happened to Nicholas Longa. He's 5 seconds back from P17, so I'm not sure what happened to him. But he must have got involved in something on the first lap because he was down at the back of the field there. So there must have been more contact also at the rear of the field. And Joris gets a penalty, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That's certainly not what Joris wants. But that something tells me there, with that penalty being given this early on, that other drivers are also on multiple warnings. If we do see Ishmael Fassi there making a send on Togo Hardy and gets a move done for P7, and that will allow Thomas Ronhaar to close in as well on the back of Tiger Hardy and get himself up into P8. But looking further ahead at the front, Tom Manley's been quite happy, along with Lenny Pepinta, sitting in P3 and P4 and just carrying their own races, just sitting where they are and not really trying to push or defend.
I think the top 5 have had a very easy time of things at the minute, but Ishmael Fassi is getting closer and closer. Dubbed the artist as Thomas Ronhaar goes for the move on Tycho Hardy up the inside through turn number 11. He'll get himself back behind Ishmael Fassi, who has really made an impression so far in this race. At the rate he's going at, same for Thomas Ronhaar. Those two could be fighting for a podium come the end of this race, as Tom Manley will go for the move, as Jake Benham as well gets through on Julian Klaffenbach. Klaffenbach down from the lead into P3, and so as I said that they've all had an easy time of things, not making any moves whatsoever. We see 3 wide for P1, and Jake Benham will take that lead.
Of course, a brilliant move there from Jake Benham, and well, you know, when's it going to be Lenny Pepinta's turn and Brendan Lee's turn? Because I'm sure they're going to try and get involved as well in that battle for the top 3 to be in the best position. Heading into the pit lane, of course, they're in the F1 wildcards, which means no one knows who their teammate is. So pit stop wise could be very, very interesting indeed as we head our way down to the final couple of corners now. Just on board here with Alvaro Caraton, looking to try and close in here and make a move ahead of Ben Chabakonyi there, but not quite close enough to try and make that launch ahead as we... Oh, Will Lewis. Oh, it's in the pit lane. Oh, that's scary for a moment there, Dan.
Tragic. Will Lewis is out. Very, very sad. On lap number 9 of this race, he is eliminated from this one. The first to call it today. Real shame to see Will Lewis out of this Grand Prix. You know that my heart is just shattered to a million pieces. Poor Kian Gondorf as well. down by 27 seconds at the minute to Istvan Pukki. He has just got himself a 3-second time penalty. Kudos to him, Nathan, for continuing on in this one, because if it was me, league racing back in my days, I would have retired long ago. So Kian Gondorf, shout out to him. Shout out to Alvaro Carreton going for the move on Ben Charbonnier, who continues to move backwards in this race as Thomas Ronhard looks close to the rear of Ismail Fassi. The Spaniard has to defend to the inside line. Here they go in towards turn number 12. The best defense is a good offense, says Ismail Fassi. He'll go for the move on Joris Kroos, and then Thomas Ronhard back around the outside of his R8G teammate, and Thomas Ronhard can't find the move on Ismail Fassi, but he's up the inside of Tycho Hardy, who's going to concede that position. Ismail Fassi, Nathan, incredible stuff from him.
Absolutely. I mean, he's defending from 3 cars, though, isn't he, pretty much, into one corner. They're all working together there. Thomas and Joris trying to squeeze Ishmael, and it's an R8G party behind him for P7, 8 and 9, as John Evans also gets a penalty as we head our way onto lap 10 of 28, and still Jake Benham in the lead of the race, and R8G having a decent race indeed. P3, P5, 7, 8, 9, and then unfortunately for Shanaka P16. As what a move there, further back, Reese Linton up the inside. Ben Charbonnier on the red paint on the inside as they went into turn 1. But a brilliant defence indeed from Charbonnier, who keeps that P11 position just for now, but it also brings in John Evans and Ruben Pedroño into this battle. But I believe Ruben still has that damage on his car, so got to say, it's a surprise to see him keeping up with his training as much as he is.
Yeah, absolutely. As this race continues on, essentially, they're in one massive DRS train down from 1st into 16th. Nicholas Longate has got wing damage for a collision with Istvan Pukki on lap number 1. The pair of them way down the order, and then Kian Gondorf, of course, is already pitted in this race. That is why he is so far behind everybody else. But as we continue along here, Tom Manley looking to go for the move for the lead, as you like. Actually, no, he's going to remain behind for the time being. We'll have a look at Reese Linton once again, eyeing up the move on Ben Charbonnier. Bench was very defensive to the inside line, and all of this defending from Bench is actually creating a bit of a rift with Ismail Fassi around the outside at turn number 15 of Brendan Lee. Oh my god, Nathan, they're going to go side by side.
Oh, this could be interesting indeed. Ismail Fassi up the inside, Brendan Lee on the outside as they head their way into turn number 19 out at the penultimate corner. Brendan Lee's going to stick his foot in there. Up the inside goes Brendan Lee. Ismail Fassi goes a little bit wide. We had someone further back go off the circuit there. I think that might have been Pedroño. As we head our way through the final corner, back down to turn 1. Brendan Lee has lost a DRS. Ismail Fassi's got the inside line as they head their way up to turn number 1. And Ismail Fassi, I think, has got that P5 back. But that was a right little skirmish down to turn 1 there between Ismail Fassi and Brendan Lee. Thomas Ronhard now is getting involved, and with Ismail Fassi, he was behind all the R8Gs. He's now ahead of all of them apart from one. That is superb, as Ruben has retired in the pits. He got caught up. I think he was also going side by side, heading through turn 16 there, done with someone.
That would have been Ruben then going off the circuit, I think, the yellow flag that we saw. So he is out of this Grand Prix, down in P18. Disappointing stuff for Ruben. We've lost 2 drivers, one of them being a current Williams driver in Will Lewis. Actually, no, they're both Williams drivers. Williams, of course, well, Ruben, of course, in the development team, and then Will Lewis, part of that esports team as well, as Thomas Ronhard closing the gap to Brendan Lee. Here they are, the 2 Kick Sauber teammates, but Brendan Lee eyeing up the move on Ismail Fassi. Unfinished business between the pair of them as they head through the final sector. Ismail defending very, very hard in towards turn number 13. Brendan Lee, can he eye the move around the outside as in towards turn number 14 and 15? There you go. Fassi with a compromise line. Brendan Lee looking for the switchback. Doesn't seem like anything is going to come up just for now. But wow, Brendan Lee, very racy on the back of Ismail Fassi, who's struggling to close that gap back up to Lenny Pepinter and the rest of the top 4. But so far, it has been enthralling to watch Ismail Fassi in that cockpit.
It certainly has some brilliant defence and some brilliant offence here by Ismail Fassi as we head our way back up to turn number 1 here. Do we see a move for the lead? No, Jake Benham still keeps that P1 position as they all close in there. And Pepinter again, this time hitting the back of Julian Klavenbach, heading into the braking zone. As we do see Alvaro Carreton there making a move ahead of Tycho Hardy. But Tycho has the inside, heading their way through into the S's section now. And they're going to go side by side into the S's section. Oh my, that could have ended poorly there for Carreton and Tycho Hardy, but they head their way through. Alvaro Carreton has that P9 position made, and now it's his turn to close in on Joris Kroos in P8. The You know, the R8G lot here, they're giving a right fight to the drivers, trying to work their way through. We've got one Williams driver making his way up into P5 and next centre. Alvaro Caraton to try and disband these R8G cars.
I mean, incredible stuff from Alvaro Caraton and Tycho Hardy. Tycho really has been moving backwards in this race. He's lost a number of places so far in this stretch as Tom Manley closing to the rear of Jake Benham once again. Here is Brendan Lee looking up the inside, but again, Ishmael Fassi going for the attack when he is under pressure. He's gone for it on Lenny Pepperton. Can't quite find it this time by, but he'll look up the inside through turn number 14, wheel to wheel between the pair of them through turn number 15. Ishmael Fassi hanging it around the outside. He'll have the inside line for the triple right-hander, but he's not going to be able to go through this time by. Impatience is settling in for the artist, known for his crafty maneuvers, and he's remaining in P5 at the minute, but he's knocking on the door of that top 5. He's already in that top 5, but he's knocking on the door of a podium. Brendan Lee can't find the move on him. Thomas Ronhaar can't find the attack on Brendan Lee, and all of a sudden they're all locked in a stalemate.
They certainly are. I mean, I'd love to see the heart rate of Ishmael Fassi at this current moment, because he must be hitting the high 140s, 150s here, because oh my, he's absolutely flying. And you know, I think he was thinking about making a move on Lenny Pepinter up the inside into turn 16 when he was further back. Luckily, backed off at the right time and didn't end up going into the back of him, but definitely was thinking about making that move. And we also see now Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronhaar starting to have a bit of a battle as well. The two teammates in Kick Saber looking to close in, and possibly we could see a right little battle between those two as well. So we head our way down to the braking zone at turn number 11 there. Philip Prechnoder gets a 3-second penalty. Shanika Clay now up into P12 ahead. Bench Jamakonya, they're going to have a little battle down to the next braking zone and further ahead. Do we see many more moves being made here as Thomas Ronhaar's going to close in to the back of Brendan Lee? He goes to the outside. Brendan Lee defends it as Ishmael Fassi goes to the inside of Lenny Pepinter. This could be a superb move here by the Williams driver ahead of the race clutch driver heading into turn number 13. There you go, and Lenny still going to try and hang it around the outside. Bit of a snap as they head their way through. Back to the inside, but Ishmael defends it. Nearly hits the back of Julian Klaffenbach, and Lenny still tries to fight it, but nothing he can do. And Ishmael Fassi up into P4. What a move. Absolutely brilliant there from Ishmael Fassi.
Incredible stuff from Ishmael there. Finally gets the move on Lenny Pepinter. Now Brendan Lee is going to have a sense of urgency to get through on Lenny, something that he struggled to do for a very long time throughout this race, but I think a fire could be ignited in the championship leader. His rival Tom Manley will be closing in on points if it stays the way it is. Brendan Lee late on the brakes in towards turn number 1. I said it's a forgiving corner for lockups. Brendan Lee a double lockup in towards that first turn there. He's really going for it on the back of Lenny Pepinter, but soon enough, if he makes mistakes like that one, Nathan, he'll have Thomas Ronhaar and Joris Krozen breathing down his neck.
He certainly will, as they're all closing in as well. You can see Joris there within a couple of tenths here. Thomas Ronhaar in P8 as they head their way over the hill through into turn number 9 and 10. And then down to turn number 11 once again. Lap 14 and 28 now. I don't think we're that far away from seeing the pit stops here onto a set of the medium tyres as Lenny Pepinter has a bit of a slide heading through into turn 11. Now gives Brendan Lee a shot down to turn number 12, but isn't quite close enough as Thomas Ronhaar now closes in, uses that battery as they head their way into the next braking zone here. Side by side, Brendan Lee versus Thomas Ronhaar. Thomas goes for the send. Oh, and nearly makes a double move. Goes up the inside here. Lenny Pepinter, they go, make contact heading in towards turn number 13. And Thomas Ronhaar, a massive send here. Made a move against Brendan Lee. He's going to make one ahead, possibly, of Lenny Pepinter heading into turn 15. There you go. Thomas goes deep. Pepinter's going to go for a brilliant switchback. Absolutely amazing there from Lenny Pepinter, and keeps that P5. But they're so close to losing the DRS advantage here.
That's great stuff there from Lenny Pepinter to hold on to position from Thomas Ronhaar's onslaught of attacks. Lots of contact between the pair of them. Brendan Lee was weaving in frustration as the first pit stops are now coming out. Reese Linton and Shanika Clay diving into the box at the end of lap. Oh my god, sorry everyone. At the end of lap number 14, I kind of forgot about the pit stops, if I'm completely honest. They're all on the hard compound of tyres throughout the entirety of this race so far, but now the mediums getting strapped on, and that should mean even more excitement throughout the end of this Grand Prix. Ishmael Fassi now has no pressure from anyone behind him, and he can unleash his fury on Julian Klaffenbach. What a race the young Spanish driver is having. The Williams are having a very eventful race so far. It's been good for some, bad for others, and Ishmael Fassi, he is flourishing at the minute as he'll look to try and attack Julian Klaffenbach. With the DRS train, of course, in effect, it makes it very difficult to force these overtakes. Tom Manley will close to Jake Benham in towards turn at number 12, and Klaffenbach will as well try and get towards the back of Tom Manley, but they're all locked in that position and no one is able to find the move. I think now, Nathan, after all that battling, maybe as these tyres begin to completely wear out, surely these guys are going to calm down a little bit.
Hopefully, I mean, for their sake and also for our sake, so we can have a bit of a break as well, and a bit of a calm down as we head our way through the final set today. And we'll see possibly a couple of these front runners here go into the pit to make their first pit stop as we go through. Does Jake Benham pit? No, and none of them really going into the pits apart from Lenny Papinta going early here off of his hard tyres. And one thing that the drivers have got to be wary about, and I'll say this because one of them's going to make that silly mistake, is that pit wall on the inside. If you go a little bit too deep and lock your brakes, you're going to go straight into it and end your race. So they've got to hope they don't lock up heading into that pit wall there, because I've done it a couple of times and I've seen drivers do it a couple of times as well.
I mean, that is that's quite funny. I mean, if we see anyone retiring in the pit lane without actually retiring in the pit lane, you know, driving in and getting a penalty or whatever, then we'll know what's happened. But you can see the power, Nathan, of the undercut. Shanika Clay has come out ahead of Reese Linton. Sorry, he was already with Reese Linton. He's come out ahead of Lenny Pepinter and Brendan Lee, Joris Krozen as well. So the undercut has worked wonders for these guys who are running outside the top 10, and it should mean that the battle for the lead as well is going to be truly shaken up, as Jake Benham will defend from Tom Manley. He's not going to be able to, though, as Tom will move into the lead of this race on lap number 16. We're entering past the halfway stage in towards where the mediums are definitely going to have the edge, and Shanika Clay, Nathan, is your net race leader.
Yeah, Shanika Clay pitting. How early did he pit then? Was it very early? Because we do see Lenny Papinta getting ahead of him. But it must have been a really early pit stop there for Shanika Clay. Wait,
it was just
there.
It was just a one-lap undercut, Nathan. You can see it's
He was P16, wasn't he?
It's something like that, and the undercut has worked wonders for him. However, their tyres are well and truly cooked as Tom Manley and Jake Benham will come into the pit lane. I think Julian Klaffenbach and Ishmael Fassi will stay out on circuit. Shanika Clay already having to do a lot of defending. We're having a few frame dip issues on stream at the minute. Fingers crossed that sorts itself out, as Brendan Lee, he is eyeing up a move on Shanika Clay off the exit of turn number 20. Here they go in towards turn number 1. What is going on? I think this is some lag issues. I don't know if that's on my end, Nathan, or if you're experiencing them as well. Brendan Lee's up the inside, but look at that. Tom Manley and Jake Benham coming out onto the circuit right in front of the train. Brendan Lee being boxed in, and the championship rivals now a line on circuit. Brendan Lee side by side with Tom Manley headed through this first part of the S section. They're clear wide. Shanika Clay trying to find his way through. Brendan Lee on the warmer medium tyres. He'll make that move sick on Tom Manley and just about stay ahead. Shanika Clay thought he could go for the move as Joris Krozen, he's gone through on Jake Benham, still wheel to wheel. We're having a few, I think these are lag issues. I don't know if it's on my end, Nathan, or if you're getting them as well, but wow, what racing we're seeing.
Shanika Clay, I was on board with him and he went up the inside into turn number 8. That could have ended terribly there for those three, but luckily they head their way out and all in the positions they were before, as Jake Benham makes a scent here on Joris Krozen to make the move up for P12 as they head their way through, and couldn't quite get the move complete here unless he can go all the way around the outside. Heading into turn number 13 now, and not quite close enough there. Joris defends the inside. Jake has to go to the outside here. That will send Joris deep and give a better exit here for Jake, but it's not enough to make a send unless he burns the battery. What a send there from Jake Benham into turn 16. Tries to make a move ahead of Joris Krozen. Joris has the inside line. Heading through into turn number 19, and there is a bit of lag indeed as Jake's just been sent off the circuit there by Joris's car. Joris gets a bit of a tap coming back onto circuit. Through turn 20 they go, and down to turn 1 yet again. And yeah, Dan, I think there is a bit of lag here for a couple of the drivers, but we do see Lenny Papinta there making the move ahead of Nicholas Longuet. Now, Reese Linton will be closing in to try and make a move as well for net P2 here, as Brendan Lee up in the top 3.
Well, I'm glad then that it's not my end of things, but you can already see, Nathan, that despite that the undercut is a powerful strategy, already the likes of Shanika Clay and Reese Linton, they are having to fight to keep these positions ahead of the likes of Brendan Lee and Tom Manley, who have just come out of the pit lane. Now Julian Klaffenbach way down the order, I think, than what he would hope for. He's going to be fighting, in 10th position once the pit stops come out for those guys, as
Oh.
still there's more battling between Tom Manley and Brendan Lee. This is down at turn at number 11, as Nicholas Longue, he has sort of inserted himself into this train, as headed down in towards turn number 12. They go. What is going to happen here? Brendan Lee side by side with Tom Manley in towards the braking zone. They go. Tom Manley around the outside of Brendan Lee, side by side between the pair of them. Tom will have that inside in towards the double right-hander, but then Brendan Lee, if he holds his nerve, he can go on the inside through turn number 15. He'll look the other way, possibly switch back on the cars. He'll settle into that position. Nicholas Longue on his worn out hard tyres, he just needs to come into the pit lane. What is he doing? He's put himself right into the middle of this train. They are stacking up behind him in towards turn number 19, and Nicholas Longue remaining out on circuit. He has not got a care in the world. Wing damage for the Frenchman as well, and he is holding up Shanika Clay. These guys, they've got to clear him ASAP.
They certainly have. I mean, one driver that's loving this, Lenny Pepinto's got the lead by 2 seconds. This is perfect here for Lenny Pepinto. Jake Benham gets a penalty for going off the track and making a position. No, sorry, corner quick and then making a position from it. So that surely will be removed, but at the moment gives him, 10 seconds of penalties. We've got Reece Linton as well with a 3-second penalty. Again, that gives him 6 seconds. As we head our way through the first sector now, and this is the perfect position. Look what Reece is doing. He's backing up to give Lenny Pepinto an even bigger margin. With 9 laps to go, Lenny Pepinto's got a 2.8 second lead. Lenny Pepinto could be looking to try and make his first victory here in WRT 1. This is absolutely insane.
And he's going to win it. He's 3 seconds clear. Oh my God, there's contact further back behind. That's Julian Klaffenbach and Joris Krozen, the two RHG drivers, tumbling over each other in towards turn at number 11. Finally, Reece Linton is being overtaken. It is pandemonium as they head in towards turn at number 12. Brendan Lee around the outside. He has got through on Reece Linton. Alvaro Caraton's got a drive-through penalty. Drive-through penalty for Alvaro Caraton. He's already sped in the pit lane, by the way, as has Ismail Fassi. He's got a 10-second time penalty to his name. And in the last lap, we had a few drivers, Nathan, just a few, with time penalties to their name. All of a sudden, Reece Linton, Shanika Clay, Jake Benham, Ismail Fassi, Alvaro Caraton, all of these guys, Nathan, have penalties.
Yeah. I have no words what this race is. It's absolutely mental. I mean, the gap that Lenny Pepinto had is now dropped down to, 1.5, 1.7. It came down by a second in just a couple of sectors here. So that is certainly not what Lenny Pepinto will want at all. But it does bring Brendan Lee back into the battle here. The two championship protagonists here, P2 and P3. And they're P2 and P1 in the championship. Tom Manley ahead of Brendan Lee, but of course, Lenny Pepinto is in that leading position, but I'm sure that he will be caught up by the end of this race. The gap's 1.6. It's not going to stay like that forever, as we've got 5 laps to go in this race. And at the moment, Tycho Hardy, because of penalties, is on for net P4. Julian Klaffenbach down in P10. He's on for net P5. And Ben Shabakonyi for net P6.
I'm genuinely getting a headache at this point as Thomas Ronars through on Philip Presneder. I think now we can finally just relax a little bit as Ismail Fassi is through on Tycho Hardy, headed in towards turn at number 12. I'm really trying to just lower the tone just a little bit for the sake of our voices and for the sake of not overstimulating our viewers. We're just going to chill out, I think, for the next couple of laps. Joris Krozen is through on Philip Presneder. And Nathan, you've been keeping note of the gap between Lenny and Tom. That is now under a second. And so all the work that Reece Linton did is now undone.
Yeah, Tycho Hardy there going for a bit of a send on Alvaro Caraton. Alvaro gets up into P8. But Tycho went for a massive send heading through into turn number 16 as we look further behind her now. Look, Reece Linton, he's trying to help his teammate even more because Shanika Clay is right behind Reece, and Reece has lost a 1 second gap, and I presume will now be trying to back them up. But look at all the cars looking to make moves here. Jake Benham looking to make 1. We'll be looking to make 2 moves into turn number 1. Can he get ahead of Reece? It's going to be close. Reece is going to have to try and hang it around the outside. There's nothing he can do against Jake, but he will defend against Shanika Clay. And Ismail Fassi as well in P7, looking to try and close up and make some moves himself. But this is interesting indeed, because they're all backing each other up, heading their way through the S's section, all trying to push through and find those positions. And Brendan Lee has lost the 1 second gap to Tom Manley. This is definitely not what he would have expected. Here's Keane Golden up, retires in the pits.
Tom Manley's pushing like crazy at the minute to catch up to Lenny Pepinter, and now he is right behind the race leader. Lenny did a good job on this set of the medium tyres. 1 lap fresher strapped on to Tom Manley, and in clear air he's been able to close that gap. He'll sail on by heading in towards turn at number 12. Could that be the move for the win? We'll have to wait and see, as Ismail Fassi, he's closing to the rear of Shanika Clay, who's going for the move on Reese Linton, heading in towards turn number 12, in towards turn number 13 they go. It seems like Reese Linton, he's going to lose that position out to Shanika Clay. Brendan Lee has got a 3-second time penalty, as has Ismail Fassi. He's almost spun out and into the gravel. He'll lose that place back to Reese Linton. Ishmael though up the inside with 4 lap fresher medium tyres. Alvaro Caraton, alright, yeah, okay, as Alvaro Caraton goes for move on Reese Linton, and wow, it's fantastic racing on lap number 21.
It certainly is. I mean, they're not scared to get their elbows out, that is for sure. Brendan Lee, I think he's done. He knows he can't get a top 2 here. Oh, he's been disqualified! Oh, because he ignored the penalty. So Alvaro's out of the race. He got disqualified for ignoring the penalty. Oh my, and luckily he's got to block anyone on the road, as we do see Julian Klaffenbach now ahead of Reesington up into P7, and because of penalties, Klaffenbach's on for a 3rd place.
Yeah, wow.
He's P7 on the road.
Unbelievable how this race has turned out. The top 2 are way clear at the minute. I mean, Lenny Pepinter's been able to keep within the DRS of Tom Manley. Brendan Lee, though, he has lost a lot of time to the top 2. He's now 2 seconds to the rear of Lenny Pepinter. Here's Thomas Ronhart up the inside of Reese Linton, heading in towards turn number, and Istvan Pukki also retires from this race in the pit lane. We've lost 5 drivers in this Grand Prix. Thomas Ronhart has found himself up into P8. He's got a very good chance of getting a podium in this one. Brendan Lee will lose 2 positions to Ismail Fassi and Jake Benham. It's all been kicking off in the last couple of laps. Lap number 22 of 28, and I think the fight for the lead is gone. Tom Manley, Nathan, surely is going to win this race.
Certainly, I mean, with the way it's going here, Thomas Ronhart makes a massive send on Klaffenbach heading into turn 14. With the way it's going here, Brendan Lee's going to finish P9. Tom Manley's going to win. That gap's going to come down by 23 points. Oh, big contact there. Klaffenbach sending Ronhart wide into turn 19. I mean, I would definitely not want to be in the R8G briefing room after this one at all, because that's going to be a scary place to be, I think.
No, absolutely. It's really been kicking off, and I think they have been the catalyst down at R8G for a lot of these incidents, as Thomas Ronhart is through on Julian Klaffenbach. The stewards are going to be very, very busy at the end of this one. It's a stark contrast to Belgium, I think. That was a pretty chill race throughout the most of it, even though there was a few incidents that happened and a few moments where maybe it wasn't the greatest thing in the world. There was only one steward's inquiry, and it was to get a penalty removed. But this race is going to be a completely different story. There are so many things that have happened. We're migrating host because Istvan Pukki has left. Hopefully that is all okay. I know that a few times on this game that could cause an issue, as my game just froze for a second there once Istvan went through, once he disconnected from the lobby, and I got very, very scared, I'm not gonna lie.
It would have been not ideal at all, but also it would have been better for the drivers, so you don't have to deal with the pain anymore of this race, as Thomas Ronhart goes up into P6 ahead of Shanika Clay and Julian Klaffenbach as well, looking to make a move ahead of his R8G counterpart as they head their way into turn number 13, and a brilliant move there by Julian, but Shanika will try and fight it back as they head their way through, but there's nothing at all that Shanika can do there. 3 lap better tyres here for Julian Klaffenbach over Shanika Clay, and up into P7 goes Julian, who yet again he's on for a net P4 here. Thomas Ronhart's on for a 3rd place here because of penalties for Fassi, Benham and Lee, but of course some penalties might be able to get removed here. That's one thing that the drivers have got to keep in mind. I think Jake Benham, if you look at his penalties, he's got 10 seconds, so he might be able to get that removed because of the penalty being for cutting the track and getting a place.
Yeah, it's happened, I think, to Jan Watmir throughout this season at Silverstone, if I'm not mistaken. That can happen if someone's forced off the road. What I probably think happened, Nathan, is that it was down in the Esther section, and that's why it's all changed up, as Thomas Ronhart's through on Brendan Lee. Disappointing how this race has gone for Brendan Lee, truth be told. He was possibly in the fight for the win at one point. He was in P4, P5, I think it was actually, loving life, fighting on the back of Lenny Pepinter. Lenny Pepinter's now in 2nd position, right behind Tom Manley, and the gap has been bridged. So the top 2 haven't run away with this race anymore. Ishmael was the one to lead the charge with the rest of the grid. However, Thomas Ronhaar, he's about 1.3 seconds to the rear of Jake Benham. Got to put in a decent graft to get to the rear of the All-Star. Julian Klaffenbach's up the inside of Brendan Lee, who continues to sink lower and lower down this grid. I'm wondering if all the drama, maybe Brendan's picked up a slight bit of wing damage. That could be something that has occurred. Nevertheless, he's down into P7, and certainly I think the age of his tyres is also playing up.
Yeah, certainly. It's not been good at all here for Brendan Lee. It's been a performance that you don't really recognise. I suppose you could say it's a little bit like watching Max Verstappen at Hungary or maybe Spa, where it's not the sort of performance you expect and see from the driver. It's been a bit of a bad race, maybe not had that much preparation, or maybe he's, as you said, got a bit of damage and that's why he's dropping so far back. But it's definitely not what we normally expect here from Brendan Lee. He's on for a net P9. Of course, as long as he don't lose any more positions, if he drops behind Shannon Clay, it'll be P10. So, yeah, certainly not the race that he wants to remember at all. I think he'll put this one to the back of his mind quite quickly, because as we know, with the way Brendan Lee is, he's had a bit of a poor race, but he's the type of guy to ignore it and probably forget about it next week and be like, when he finished P10, but it don't matter, because we're still going to win the championship.
Yeah, he's still acres. He's miles away from Tom Manley at the minute at the top of the order. He's the only driver in the triple digits. I think Tom Manley will be joining him at the end of this one, but certainly there's still a long way to go up for Tom Manley, and it's still very unlikely that Tom Manley actually wins this championship by the end, but maybe it's possible. If Tom keeps having races like this one, he could definitely see himself in a fight for the championship heading into the last couple of weeks. I think we can confirm it's going to next week, which means he can get some graphics ready. So I'm very excited about that one. If he won the championship tonight and we didn't have any graphics ready, I would have been very, very sad, as Joris Krozen adds another penalty to his total. Let's have a look at the penalties. Ishmael Fassi with 13 seconds, Jake Benham with 10. That could definitely get removed. Brendan Lee, Shanika Clay, John Evans have 3 seconds. Same for Philip Preschneider. Reese Linton's got 9, and then Joris Krozen has 6. So Reese Linton and Joris, they've been naughty boys as well, because those are separate occasions where they've got warning penalties.
Yep, certainly. It's not been good at all for those two. As we head our way down to turn 1 again, and Ishmael Fassi for a second was looking about making a move there on Lenny Pepinta, but wasn't quite close enough heading into turn number 1. But still, Lenny Pepinta is in good contention to win this race. It will be his first win here in WOR, when Nicholas Lockett gets a penalty for corner cutting. Well, that's his race over. He's going to be retiring in the pit, so we did lose now. 6 drivers in this race. Been a big shame indeed. We've lost 3 Williams drivers, a former Williams driver, a Merc and a Ferrari. Definitely not been the best race for those guys at all, as we head our way back down to turn number 11 once again. And Ishmael Fassi, even though he's got a penalty, he's still got some decent pace here. Of course, he got a 3 seconds for corner cutting, well, multiple warnings, but he also got that 10 seconds for speeding in the pits, and that certainly could have ruined his race here, because he could have still been on for a top 5 here with the way people are starting to break back further down.
Absolutely, and the penalties, especially around this circuit, Nathan, they are just lethal. I feel like every time we come here, drivers get a boatload of penalties, and it really does shake up the order by the end of it. Tycho Hardy is going to be like 5th or whatever. I mean, with how close this grid has been, he is going to really see himself shoot up the order. And so if you've kept a clean slate here this evening, then you're in a great position, as Ishmael Fassi up the inside in towards turn at number 19, through on Lenny Pepinta. Good stuff there from the artist. Another move made. Of course, it's got that big annotation next to it with a 10-second time penalty, but on circuit, if that penalty gets removed for whatever reason, he could see himself win this race.
Yeah, that's definitely something we need to keep in mind. Even though they got 3-second penalties for this, 3-second penalties for that, they can still get them removed if they were pushed wide. Or if they didn't go off track and it classed as they did. So Ishmael Fassi, you never know, could go into the steward room, get both his penalties removed, and get a P2 or maybe even a P1. So that's something that they will keep in mind. And even if they know they can't get it removed, they might as well try it and see if they can get a bit of leniency. Yeah,
absolutely. I think really, best case scenario, Ishmael Fassi gets both of his penalties removed, and he's got a clean slate heading into this final lap. I think, though, what this really does do is it benefits Tom Manley, because that is a car in between himself and Lenny Pepinta, who we know has not got a penalty, and we know is going to be finishing at the minimum as it stands in P3, and because he could have challenged for the lead on Tom Manley, he's going to feel very grateful that Ishmael Fassi threw. However, Lenny Pepperton not going to take this one lying down. He'll look up the inside of Ishmael Fassi with 3-lap older tyres. There's Jake Benham out of nowhere, barging his way through on Lenny Pepperton. Thomas Ronhaar has appeared from absolutely nowhere. Jake Benham still trying to muscle out Thomas Ronhaar as they head through turn at number 15, side by side through the triple right-hander, and Thomas Ronhaar,
Jake
through I think Jake Benham almost
massive
had a
slide.
Yeah, it wasn't on my picture, but I mean, I just know that something like that could have happened. And I mean, these tyres, Nathan, they're actually getting up there in age, especially for Jake Benham and Tom Manley, crucially. As they head on to the final lap of this race, Ishmael Fassi with 2-lap fresher tyres and Tom Manley. Thomas Ronhaar, though, could he pull off the last to first?
He could do. I mean, he started P20. He's in P3. He's only going to, well, he's going to get past Tom Manley. It doesn't really matter about Ishmael Fassi. He could certainly win this race. I mean, I did not expect to turn up to this race, Dan, and be commentating over NASCAR, because that's what it's been like for a few of these laps so far. It's been side-by-side action all the way through, especially through that third set from many occasions, as we head our way down to turn 11 once again now. And Tom Manley's in that prime position, in the lead of the race, as they head onto that DRS straight. Ishmael Fassi is going to be on the attack. Thomas Ronhaar as well will be on the attack. You can see there Thomas braking late, trying to get himself sent into turn 11, get turned in, and then get back on the power nice and early now as they head their way down to turn number 12 for the final time in this race. Ishmael Fassi is on the attack here of Tom Manley, and I don't think Ronhaar's close enough here, Dan, to make the move.
No, easy move for Ishmael Fassi through on Tom Manley. Thomas Ronhaar, he's going to have to give it absolutely everything, and I think if we can count on one driver to do that, it is Thomas Ronhaar. Quick on the power. Tom Manley defending. Thomas Ronhaar down the inside in towards turn number 15, side by side. Wheel banging between the pair of them. Still, as they head into the triple right-hander for the final time, Thomas Ronhaar with the nose in there. Wheel to wheel between the pair of them. Tom Manley has just about done enough to muscle out Thomas Ronhaar as through the final two corners they go. Will Thomas Ronhaar find a final send? It doesn't seem like it. So Ishmael Fassi will come across the line to take the win on circuit. But it is Tom Manley, after the penalties have been applied, to take the win ahead of Thomas Ronhaar. You cannot fault Thomas at all for going for that move. But that was a win for Tom Manley that was written in the stars from the beginning, and it's another victory for the young Englishman.
What a race. I'm absolutely speechless. I did not expect any of that at all here tonight. Remember, Ishmael Fassi, who was up at the top, he started P19. Thomas Ronhaar started 20th place. This race has been absolutely amazing. But also, Lenny Pepinter is on the podium. He was in the lead. He had a 2.7 second lead. He couldn't quite get a win, but he will get a P3 here tonight ahead of Julian Clapperbock in P4 after starting on the front row ahead of Tiger Hardy, Shanika Clay, John Evans, Bertram McConaughey, Brendan Lee, and Jake Benham round out the top 10. A poor race from Jake after starting on pole. Then we have Ishmael Fassi, Philip Presnoja, Reese Linton, Joris Crozen and Nicholas Longate completing the race, and we did lose, of course, Pookie, Goldendup, Pedronio, Lewis and Carrot. A big shame for Williams, having their three drivers, 18, 19 and 20, DNF.
Yeah, wow.
Well, DSQ as well.
Alvaro Carreton, that is so sad. Alvaro out of this race due to a disqualification. You don't see that every day, do you, Nathan? I mean, that was incredible stuff that to actually get disqualified for not serving a drive-through penalty. I don't think I've ever seen that in league racing before. Alvaro Carreton, thank you for giving me my first experience there. But yeah, what a race that was for Tom Manley. He was incredibly quick in Q2, didn't quite convert that to pole in Q3, but I think that's a good thing because, of course, notoriously, that pole position, Nathan, cursed on this game. Jake Benham down to 10th position after the penalties. The curse continues. I think Barry Burman last week was just an anomaly.
Indeed, but what a race. I mean, that's going to be my eyes race of the season, surely, I think. And I think you can agree as well, Dan. Some of the moves we had, I mean, we said this race was good for overtake, and I think the drivers went above that, didn't they? And showed us that you can overtake literally anywhere. I mean, we had overtaken off the circuit at one point. That shows how, I suppose the drivers are also angry as well, aren't they? You know, in the moment, they're angry. They want to get those positions back, and they push it a little bit too much to the edge. And with the penalty, some of them had the, like, you know what, sod this, we'll go for it anyway and see if it happens.
I mean, it was incredible to see throughout the entirety of this race. So much battling. I think at some points though it was a little bit too much for me, and
Definitely.
I definitely couldn't handle it at some points. I think maybe he needs to have a word. Luke, if you're watching, just get with these guys. Calm it down. That's all it needed to be. Just calm it down. I think that was the play for a lot of those guys. But oh well, because it was a good race in the end, especially for Tom Manley, Thomas Ronhar as well, and Lenny Pepinter. Shout out to him in P3. That is an exceptional run from him. He started down in was it P10? I think Lenny Pepinter started this race in.
P10, yeah.
He had a very poor qualifying. He was able to take the podium. Of course, with the penalties applied to a lot of drivers, and there was a lot of drama going on throughout the entire race. Pepinter deserves that one, so well done to him.
Indeed, and I mean, championship-wise, it will close in a bit because, of course, Tom Manley taking 25 points, Brendan Lee taking 2. So it'll go from 58 to 30, 35, I think, something like that.
I think so. I mean, you're probably better at maths than I am.
I hope not.
I dropped that as soon as I could when I got to A levels. As we do have Thomas Ronhard getting ready for an interview. I think it might just be him this evening. We don't typically get Tom Manley in, so we can talk to Thomas Ronhard. Thomas, my friend, can you hear me?
I can, then, yes.
Alright, so starting this one off, of course, you're starting from the back once again, and it's actually quite rare that we get to talk to someone starting so far down the order. I want to know from your point of view, why do you actually decide to start so far down?
I actually wanted to qualify this race, but I realized PSL was also around here next week, so I decided to just have some fun with it today and start from the back and try and see what was gonna go on in that race. Already turn one lap one. There was, I don't know what happened. I have to watch back, but I gained 8 spots out of one corner, which really helped me. And I think also Ismail out in that race. And I think from there he was trying to overtake at the right time. With the field being so tight, it can really turn out to be a very good one or a very bad race. The strategy was really good. Just the only part in that race that really costed me a potential win was right towards the end where I lost the DRS. Because Brandon had a bit worse tires than the front runners, which made me lose the connection to the DRS for I think 4 laps. But right at the end I was there, but just didn't quite have the battery to play with. Tried a little dive on the last lap on sector 3, but it wasn't quite enough. So yeah, I'll take a P2 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really well worked race from you today, and of course it could have been the win in the end, but it wasn't meant to be. So, I mean, it was... I'm running out of questions already. You've pretty much answered everything that I wanted to ask. So I guess I want to talk to you about the change in the schedule, maybe. Of course, next time out, we're not going to be racing on a Sunday. It's going to be Monday from here on out, due to the clash with real-life Formula 1, of course, in the Americas. Does the races being on a Monday, does that change anything for you?
Not for me personally. Of course, we have a schedule within our team, so that will likely, be changed a tiny bit. But for me, it doesn't really change anything. If I know what to drive, I'll just practice for it, and then it'll be a bit less prep for PSL. I don't think that'll be a big issue, so I'm not too unhappy with it.
And with this result, I believe that you jump ahead of Jan Watmere in the championship. That will put you in 3rd position, if I'm not mistaken. Heading into the final 3 races of the season, your teammate Brendan, he is way out in front at the minute. I think you might be mathematically out of contention. But do you feel that P2 could be on the cards to make it a 1-2 for Kix Alba?
Yeah, for sure. I think, Brandon, of course, had a fantastic season so far. Of course, having a lot of good races, a lot of consistency. I reckon if I turn up all the races, I would have likely at least been there to at least have a little, fight with my own teammate. But and at the start of the season, I was still on vacation. I think P2 is for sure on cards, and I hope it's going to be a very clean battle for sure.
Yeah, well, fantastic. I hope to see you back here in the interview room. That's all from me. Nathan, anything you want to say to Thomas?
First of all, congratulations, Thomas, on the P2. A good job indeed, especially starting from the back of the grid. Next week, we head off to China. What's your thoughts on that track? Because we don't really race there that often compared to most others.
If I mean, fairly honest, I think my last actual competitive P show WR race on China must have been an Xbox. It was that long ago when I did an actual league race around there, but I think it goes the same for everybody that the last time was esports in 2021, I think so.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a bit of a new challenge for everybody. China, I think, is a fairly challenging track with a lot of opportunities, so it's gonna be, I think, less chaotic because China is not really as chaotic as, let's say, Austria, Vegas. I think today was just one lap, one chaotic. Yeah, I think it'll be a fun challenge, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just one quick thing. Obviously, heading down to turn 16, the hairpin at China. How do you think that'll go? Because there'll be lots of cars heading down to one braking zone. Do
Oh
you reckon
yeah.
we'll have a bit of contact?
I think on the last lap there'll be some Euro chicken if people want to, of course. Yeah, I think it's gonna be, let's say, on the last lap it'll be quite chaotic, but China
Yeah.
is really tough to overtake, I think. Of course, I don't know how easy it is to race there on this year's game, because you can follow so closely. I think the back straight will be a killer if you're people on the last lap. So I reckon there will be some Euro chicken there. So I reckon yeah, there will be some chicken, like I said, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Definitely. So, Thomas, thank you for popping in for a quick chat. It was great to have you in here as usual, and hopefully we'll see you again next time. So, have a good one, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Thomas Ronhart, for joining us. I don't believe we're going to get to hear from Tom Manley.
No.
We already know that Lenny Pepinter isn't joining us. So, Nathan, we can end things at 8:45. Wow.
Oh, isn't it great?
It's beautiful.
Normally on like lap 10 or something, aren't we, for race?
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that I get to get away from you as soon as I. As soon as I. Also,
I remember that, Dan.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. We also not have Will Gibson in the chat giving you all the rubbish, so I've got to do it for you here
Make
tonight.
up for him.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to do it because he's incapable of doing it here this evening.
I mean, the good thing for you then is, Dan, that you're not going to see me next week, so I'm off in Germany. So I'll enjoy my time on holiday, and you can be here alone.
I hope I'm not alone. I hope we can get someone in, but yeah, I could be here alone. I'll be missing you, Nathan. I'm only joking. I'm only filling the void that Will Gibson has
Get
left.
Will Gibson in then.
Yeah, Will Gibson into the commentary box. Maybe if he's out there watching at the minute, maybe we can get him in for a special race here in WOR. But yeah, next time out, you heard it, everyone. We're headed to China. I've not commentated on that track in a very long time. Very excited to see how that one goes. But I think that is everything we need to cover here this evening.
Yep.
Of course, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the WOR YouTube channel and hit that like button as well. It goes a long way in promoting us here. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at WOR League on Twitter, and then World Online Racing F1 on TikTok. If you want to follow myself on Twitter, it is at DanfieldF1_. And if you want to follow Nathan, it is RichieF1 with the I's replaced by the ones. Thank you, everyone, once again for tuning in to round number 9 of Season 18 PC Tier 1. We head to China for the third to last race of the season. Next time out on a Monday evening. Don't make sure that you don't miss that. But for now, that is everything. So thank you and good night.